The front door clicked shut, and with it, the facade of my ordinary world shattered. I stood frozen in my sister's perfectly curated living room, listening to the taxi's engine fade down the street. Brooke and Jared were gone, off to their fabricated Caribbean cruise. 5 days I was meant to spend in a hospital bed while they stole my life. I turned, a practiced smile already on my lips, ready to ask Nola what adventure we should begin, but the question died in my throat. My 8-year-old niece wasn't reaching for her iPad. She wasn't typing a silent message. She was just standing there, staring at me with an intensity that felt ancient. Then, the child I had believed was born mute, the little girl who hadn't made a sound in 5 years, opened her mouth. "Auntie, don't drink the tea Mom made." She plotted something bad. Her voice was clear, perfect, a bell ringing in a silent room. The blood in my veins turned to ice. Let me rewind. My name is Lisa Rains. I'm 32, an accountant who finds solace in balanced spreadsheets, and until 6 hours ago, I believed I understood my family. That morning, my sister Brooke called, her voice dripping with honeyed concern. She needed a last-minute sitter for Nola, a romantic anniversary cruise. You see, of course I said yes. I always said yes to Brooke. I arrived at her magazine cover house at noon. The hug at the door was my first clue. Brooke wasn't a hugger. Jared was sweaty, twitchy, loading luggage without meeting my eye. Brooke performed a hurried tour, as if I'd never visited, before pressing a large yellow-lidded thermos into my hands. "Herbal tea for stress," she insisted, her gaze a little too sharp. "You look tired." I smiled. I thanked her. I was an expert at smoothing things over with my older sister. The taxi honked. Another awkward hug, and they were gone. I closed the door. I turned, and Nola, my silent niece, spoke. Now, kneeling on the cold kitchen floor, the thermos of poison sitting innocently on the counter, I finally understood. The silence, the diagnosis, the Mother of the Year plaque on the mantel, all parts of a lie so meticulously constructed I had never thought to tap on its walls. In a steady, quiet voice, Nola told me her truth. She wasn't mute. At 3 years old, she had overheard a phone call, words like, "Aunt Lisa," "money," and, "out of the picture," when she innocently repeated a phrase. Brooke's reaction was swift and terrifying. She grabbed her daughter's arms and issued a chilling ultimatum: "If you ever speak again, something terrible will happen to Aunt Lisa. Your voice is dangerous. If you love her, you'll never make another sound." So Nola, to protect me, locked her voice away for 5 years. Her silence made her invisible, a ghost in her own home, witnessing everything, the practiced forgeries of my signature, the whispered plans about the family trust, the scheming with a lawyer in Indianapolis. And 2 nights ago, the final piece, the plan to use the tea to make me violently, incapacitatingly ill. Not to kill me, that would be too messy, just to make me helpless long enough for them to forge the documents and drain the $1.2 million trust our mother left, the one requiring both our signatures. My sweet, fierce niece had carried this awful secret to save me. I held her tight, feeling her small arms cling back with a strength that belied her years. My tears of shock cooled into something hard and focused. Brooke thought she had 5 days. She thought I was already defeated. She was wrong. The first call was to Gwen, my nurse friend who shows up with ice cream and truth. She arrived, heard the story, and sprang into action. With latex gloves, she took a sample of the tea for testing. Then, led by Nola, we found Brooke's locked office drawer. The code was their wedding anniversary, 0315. Inside was the blueprint of my sister's betrayal, forged signatures on bank forms, statements showing she'd already siphoned $180,000, emails with an Indianapolis attorney discussing my fabricated mental instability, a vile file labeled Lisa, mental health concerns, filled with notes painting me as unhinged. Gwen photographed everything. "This is premeditated," she said, her voice grim. Her lab contact confirmed it hours later. The tea contained a potent cocktail designed for hospitalization. My next call was to Kevin, a prosecutor from my college days. After a stunned silence, he outlined the reality: fraud, forgery, attempted poisoning, and profound psychological abuse of a child. "We'll bring in the police and the FBI," he said, "but for now, she cannot know you're onto her. You have to make her think her plan is working. So, on day 2, I became an actress, with Nola and Gwen watching. I called Brooke's voicemail. I made my voice weak, trembling, pathetic. Brooke, something's really wrong. I've been so sick all night. I think I need to go to the hospital. I hung up. My hands were steady. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. Not a panicked call, not a demand to speak to her daughter. A simple text from Brooke. It read, "So sorry to hear that. Don't worry about us at all. Mrs. Patterson has a key for Nola. Just focus on feeling better. The doctors will take good care of you." Followed by a single, cheerful emoji. I stared at the message, then at the sun umbrella emoji, a tiny, perfect symbol of the fiction she was living, a fiction she thought was still intact. A cold resolve settled in my chest. She believed I was already out of the picture. She believed she had won. The performance was only beginning, and this time, I was writing the script. A text. "Oh no. Feel better soon. Don't worry about Nola. Mrs. P is great with kids. Rest up and take care of yourself. See you in a few days." I stared at the pink heart emoji. My sister had tried to poison me. She was orchestrating a $1 million theft. And her response was a breezy note you'd send a coworker with a cold. She didn't ask which hospital. She didn't offer to come home. She didn't ask to speak to her daughter. Sociopaths usually put in more effort, Gwen muttered, reading over my shoulder. "I think they do," I said, my voice flat. A digital breadcrumb confirmed everything. Jared, ever the careful one, had left his Instagram location services on. A grinning coffee shop selfie. Geotagged to Indianapolis. No ocean, no cruise, just the dreary truth, exactly where Nola said they'd be. While Gwen tracked their digital shadow, I returned to the evidence drawer. Beneath a stack of tax returns, I found them. Letters. The paper felt heavy, the ink a fossilized record of a dying woman's torment. They were from Brooke to our mother, Patricia, written in the final, gasping months of her cancer. Not letters of love or comfort, but demands. Change the will. Leave everything to me. Lisa is single. She doesn't need it. You always favored her. This is your chance to finally make things right. The cruelty was surgical, exploiting a mother's love and weakness. Beneath them, I found Mom's reply. Her handwriting was a frail, shaky scrawl, but the words were forged of steel. "I will not punish Lisa for being responsible. I will not reward you for being greedy. The trust stays equal. This discussion is over. Do not bring this up again. I love you, but I am disappointed in who you've become." She had seen Brooke's heart, and she had refused her, so Brooke waited for her to die, and then began her work with forgeries. I sat on the floor, the letters in my lap, weeping not for myself, but for my mother, for the betrayal she had to face alone at the end. "Auntie?" Nola stood in the doorway, then came to sit beside me, her small hand slipping into mine. "Grandma told me something once," she said quietly, when Mommy wasn't in the room. She said, "Watch your mama, little one. Something's wrong in her heart." I thought she meant a sickness. I didn't understand. "I think she understood everything," I whispered, wiping my eyes. "I think she trusted us to figure it out." That evening, Kevin's update was swift. The legal gears were turning. Local police were briefed. The FBI was interested. Interstate wire fraud made it federal. The Indianapolis lawyer, Warren Ducker, had already been suspicious of the signatures. He agreed to cooperate fully. The trap was set for day 4. My role was simple: keep pretending. So I sent my weak, pathetic texts, painting a picture of a woman fading in a hospital bed. Each message was a lie that felt like a suture, closing a wound my sister had opened. On day 3, a child specialist took Nola's official statement. In a room with a one-way mirror, she sat in a too-big chair and told her story again, the threat at 3 years old, the years of silence, the plot with the T. Her voice, still new and unfamiliar, never wavered. Afterwards, she looked exhausted but lighter. "It's like I've been holding my breath underwater for years," she said, and I finally came up for air. Day 4, 10:15 a.m., Indianapolis. We watched via a secure feed in Brooke's living room, Nola holding my hand, Gwen a steady presence at my side. On the screen, Brooke walked into the law office, perfect in a professional dress, the leather folder of forgeries under her arm. Jared followed, a sheen of sweat on his pale face. They were shown to a conference room. Warren Ducker sat at the head of the table, his expression grave. 2 plainclothes detectives sat with him. Brooke's smile faltered for a microsecond. I thought this was a private meeting. Please sit, Mrs. Whitford, Ducker said. These detectives have questions about your documentation. What followed was a quiet, methodical dismantling. They laid the forged signature beside my real one. They mentioned the $180,000 in unauthorized withdrawals. They referenced the emails about my instability. Brooke pivoted, reaching for her file of fabricated mental health notes. My sister is not well. You have to understand. Detective Morrison cut her off gently. Her employer, her doctor, and 3 colleagues describe her as exceptionally stable. She placed a lab report on the table. And then there's the tea you prepared, a concentrated blend designed to cause severe, hospitalization-level illness. Jared made a choked sound. Brooke froze, the pleasant mask hardening into something brittle. Then Morrison played the recording. Nola's voice, clear as crystal, filled the room. My mommy told me when I was 3 that if I ever talked again, something bad would happen to Aunt Lisa. The sound of her own daughter's testimony, the voice she had sworn would never be used, shattered the last of Brooke's composure. The mask didn't just crack, it vaporized. That's not, she can't, she's mute. This is fabricated. You just confirmed you believed she couldn't speak, Morrison said, her tone lethally calm. Medical records show selective mutism, a condition often rooted in trauma or fear. You terrorized your child into silence for 5 years. That's abuse, on top of fraud, forgery, and attempted poisoning. Brooke's face contorted into something ugly and raw. She was supposed to stay quiet. She was never supposed to. Brooke, stop, Jared blurted, turning to the detectives. I want a lawyer, a separate one. I'll cooperate. She planned it all. I was just scared of her. The betrayal in Brooke's eyes as she turned on him was more venomous than anything she'd ever aimed at me. The handcuffs clicked shut. She was led away, still sputtering explanations into a void that no longer listened. On the screen, the conference room went still. Nola squeezed my hand. It's over. It's over, I echoed, the words feeling true for the first time. 2 weeks later, in a fluorescent lit family court, a judge with kind eyes reviewed the file. He turned to Nola. Young lady, he said, speaking directly to her, in your own words, where would you like to live? Nola stood up, a small figure in a purple dress. I want to live with my Aunt Lisa. She's the only one who ever really saw me, even when I couldn't talk. She listened. A pause. Then the decisive clincher. Also, she makes really good pancakes. The gavel fell. Emergency custody was granted. That evening, in our apartment, with purple paint drying in the spare room, Nola talked through dinner. And after that, a torrent of words held back for 5 years. She told me about dinosaurs, Ankylosaurus as the undisputed champion, a tank with a built-in weapon, about a dream involving a penguin driving a car, and about the possibility of getting a dog. I listened to every single word. Brooke took a plea deal. I didn't attend. The recovered trust was secured, a foundation for Nola's future. I sold the old family home. Its memories were too layered with ghosts. Now, on a quiet morning, we eat pancakes on the balcony. Autumn sun filters through the trees. Nola is narrating an elaborate saga about the very polite dragon, Gerald. I sip my coffee and watch her. The quiet child is gone. In her place is a girl with a voice she's no longer afraid to use, a voice she chose to reclaim not for herself, but for me. Some stories don't end with silence. They end with the beautiful, messy, healing noise of a new beginning. Ours is just starting. She pauses, looks at me, and smiles. Thanks for listening, Aunt Lisa, for real. I reach over and squeeze her hand. Always, sweetheart, always.